Of all the characters I would ever call FNaF's main antagonists, none of them have been done quite as dirty as the final boss of Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. Ennard is an amalgamation of the various animatronics seen during that game, combining together in order to scoop your player character, wear him as a skin suit, and escape into normal everyday life. After discarding the rotting corpse outfit, Ennard would seemingly wander the sewers or other places until they had split into two beings, Scrap Baby and Molten Freddy. The problem is that I feel neither of these characters work better as separate entities. I love Ennard as Sister Location's final boss, but they've had such a limited appearance since then that I wouldn't blame anyone for simply forgetting about them. That's where today's series comes into play. This was a series I had initially discovered through Daco, and while I thought what he watched was good, I didn't really take it all that seriously until I saw even Theft King was posting about it. So then I thought, well, I have to sit down and watch it. Reach Animations is an animator who has done primarily FNaF content on their channel, with their main series being what's known as the Incident Logs, and this is where Ennard comes into play, as they serve as the primary antagonist of the series. Currently, there are 3 what I would call chapters or seasons of the Incident Logs, but in the first season, most of these videos are very short, with a longer video thrown into the mix. For this video, I plan on only reviewing the first chapter of the story, with reviews of chapters 2 and 3 coming later down the line if this video gets enough support. Normally these videos are some of my most popular, so we'll say that if this video can get 100,000 views, I will make a part 2 covering chapter 2. Seems fair, right? Oh, and to those of you who enjoyed my video making an AI write the FNaF story, I will be making a part 2 to that as well soon. Without further ado, let's get into video 1, Anomaly Report. Anomaly Report opens with a login page for what appears to be a camera system. We can see various menu options, but the one we're focused on is the one clearly labeled Anomaly Report. This appears to be a fragment of video documenting movement anomalies in some sort of Freddy's location. We first see Funtime Freddy stomp into view, and the camera flashes for some classic FNaF teleporting. When he leaves, we hear some metal clanging and banging, which, if I'm not mistaken, is taken directly from either FNaF 2 or Ultimate Custom Night. Either way, it's the sound of someone crawling in the vents. In the darkness, you might start to notice something metal dangling from the ceiling. It's the vent door swinging open, and down they descend. Ennard. I think, anyway. This Ennard definitely isn't your garden variety animatronic amalgamation. With a much larger mouth, more closely spaced teeth, and a general scarier appearance, this Ennard haunts and skulks closer to the camera before we switch to a screen of his face. It opens up and reveals to us a spirit, I believe. Now, this isn't that unusual. We know that Ennard does have Elizabeth Afton's spirit inside them, but this Ennard is definitely different. It's also odd to see Funtime Freddy walking around moments before Ennard appears, since Funtime Freddy should theoretically be a part of Ennard. This video is creepy and introduces us to the mystery and terror pretty damn well. Although it's rather short and the ending scene isn't that original, it actually reminds me of a lot of Baddington stuff, I'd still grade this an 8 out of 10. Video 2, Performance Compromise, starts very much the same as the last one, on the same screen. This was when I realized that every episode would begin like this. These are the incident logs the series was named after. We see whoever's checking these logs try to click on BI58 ! Bunch of characters, but the system's not gonna let them, so they instead decide to watch Performance Compromise. The video begins with the camera switching on, turning, and facing Circus Baby and the Funtimes on their stage. It's unclear if this is at Circus Baby's party rentals, or if it's at Circus Baby's Pizza. While Baby and Ballora move and dance, it seems like Freddy and Foxy aren't interested in performing today. While ordinarily this kind of insubordination is met with a controlled shock, this time it's met with some zoom-ins. But while the cameraman is zooming in on Freddy, we can see Baby turn and stop, staring at the camera guy, watching him closely. When the camera guy zooms out, the lights go out. All of the animatronics are staring his way now, although I can't really tell if Ballora is there anymore. Through one glitch in the video feed, and what sounds like rapid footsteps, Freddy and Foxy vanish. We hear a carnival tune start and Baby's face begins to glow. It's actually the same carnival tune you can hear in a lot of Squimpus and Baddington stuff. Callbacks be callbacks, I suppose. When the song is over, Baby's face stops glowing and we see the camera UI vanish. We then hear on the left side something especially terrifying in stereo. Someone says the words, "Hello there." Turn to the left and we get a very nice montage of ghostly sister location animatronics. Congrats, Reach. In under 4 minutes, you've scared me more than sister location did in about an hour. In the last animation, we see what seems to be Circus Baby, and we see the face of Spring Bonnie come out of the darkness. Cut to black. The remaining few seconds are just blackness and static. But overall, this video was damn good. There's plenty of build-up, and the whisper in stereo, oh, it was icing on the cake. If I wasn't a bit dead inside, I might still be scared. The only thing I really don't like about this video is the little orange and red jig Funtime Freddy and Baby do at the end, but then it does show Spring Bonnie is a part of the story, so it's forgiven. 9 out of 10. The next video is animatronic maintenance fail, which, aside from sounding like a 2016 prank channel video, is also a really strong showcase of Reach's narrative sensibilities. He begins once more with a login screen, and it's really beginning to deteriorate. It was glitching a bit in the last video, but now it's getting pretty bad. Interestingly, when we're logged in, we see both Anomaly Report and Performance Compromise have been purged from the logs, and I have reason to believe who could have done that, but we'll get to that later. For now, our user tries to select the purged file, but is eventually greeted with the message, "You can't." They settle with watching some prank videos, and our tape begins. We open on the scooping room, it looks like, although it could be the parts and service room. Either way, we're in the rental service now. Funtime Freddy sits on a table, waiting. He's missing his right arm, which also means he's missing Bon Bon. Poor guy. We hear machinery start up, but then some facility workers talking. Something jammed the secondary motor of whatever device they're trying to use. They try to reset the controls, referring to whatever they're working on as the right arm. So maybe it's Funtime Freddy's right arm? Hate to say it, guy, but you're probably not going to get that working from a computer. We hear that they're still working on it, but they will eventually reattach it to Funtime Freddy. We see a mechanical arm come down, carrying Freddy's arm. One technician tells the other not to screw up reattaching it, which I think is some pretty good advice when it comes to handling these things. Freddy's arm is attached and the mechanical arm retracts. Suddenly, Freddy activates, which alerts the technician who is controlling the reattachment. He holds up his mic like he's going to start singing, and his arm as if Bon Bon was attached to it. The techs question why Freddy was powered on, to which one of them basically just goes, "My bad. Look man, you told her not to screw up, but if anyone's getting killed, it's gonna be you." They begin vocal testing with Freddy, who says one of his famous lines from Sister Location. As the techs want to move on though, Freddy says another line, "I see you over there in the dark." The techs rightfully question why this happens, and one of them volunteers to take a quick look. "I'm sorry dude, but right now you are officially the most dead person in the room." He shines his light out the window onto Freddy, and he decides that it was probably just a malfunction. I'll be honest, I expected him to actually go out and look at the animatronic instead of just flashing a light around. Suddenly, the lights go out, and a red alert siren begins flashing. In between these red flashes we can see Ennard, but then the lights come back on. I guess that kinda confirms my suspicions earlier. Whatever this Ennard is, it probably isn't the Ennard we're used to seeing. The female tech then complains about the security system in place and drops a word which I can't use, and honestly kinda caught me off guard. The techs talk about what could be in the vents. The British one, who took a look earlier, describes how usually it's a mass or a piece of debris, but one time they did find something unusual. The American guy tech wants to know what he means, but the female tech is done with stories for now. It's then that they, and honestly I, notice that Freddy's faceplates have opened up. The female tech then straight up calls Afton out by name, telling him to fix his damn robot. Oh ma'am, I applaud you. But congratulations, you've now beaten the British guy in terms of the most dead character in the room. Although oddly enough, it seems like Afton actually showed up. William Afton actually marches over when the tech calls for him, and Afton tells them to reboot the system, and Funtime Freddy powers down. However, before they can get him to turn back on, it seems like all the power is cut out, and everything goes dark. There's a bit of light after that, as it seems like someone is searching the area with their flashlight. All the while, the techs and Afton argue about how many problems they're having with the computers and robots. But Funtime Freddy is gone. When Afton realizes this, he tells them that they all need to leave, and they do so. We see a light glide over the screen and eventually land on Ennard, who seems to be hanging upside down off of some of the dangling wires. They turn their head to correct their vision, and Afton says that they're performing as expected. Cut to black, end of tape. Okay, wow. There was a lot to go through here. What I thought would be a series simply filling in the blanks of what happened between Sister Location and Pizza Sim seems to instead be going back further. For some reason, there's an Ennard that existed before Sister Location, and one who seems hostile, but also seems to be Afton's own little experiment. I think the person who purged those files earlier, back when it said "you can't," was Afton, hiding the evidence that Ennard even existed. This video was great, and surprisingly narratively driven, although not as scary as the last one. 9 out of 10. Next up is 1000. When we log in this time, very briefly a D shows up on screen. I was a bit confused by what this video was since it wasn't listed on the logs previously, but in the description, it becomes very clear that this is Reach's 1K special. Pretty cool stuff. I'm honestly surprised it took them 3 high quality episodes just to reach 1K. In fact, they're still pretty criminally small, so please check their channel out after you finish this video. Although they are larger than me in sub count, some of my videos tend to actually garner more views than this series. I'd highly recommend checking them out. But on with the video itself. We come to the file screen again, with the maintenance fail video now being changed to the word no. Well, that's pretty blatant. After selecting no, we're brought to a black screen, and suddenly the word override appears on screen. After some beeps of overriding, I guess, we see the number 1000 appear. It's clicked on, I guess, and we see the locked FNaF 4 box. Oh god, I think I'm having a heart attack. Anyway, eventually one of the locks on the box starts jiggling and falls off. The second lock does the same, and the box begins to rattle, as though something is trying to get out of it. The lid opens slowly, and Ennard's head rises out of it, making this gross guttural sound. He sits up, and I can only imagine how cramped he is in this little box, unless it's like a damn hammer space. The image turns ghostly, shit yourself white, and cuts to black. Thank you for 1,000 subscribers. Episode 4 is coming soon. So overall, this video is short and sweet, just a little thank you to Reach's fans. However, it does actually give us one really good bit of lore, that this Ennard was what was in the FNaF 4 box, meaning he was probably relevant during the Bite of 83. It's not really clear what he is yet, but he has extremely strong ties to William Afton, and maybe the entire Afton family. I'm not gonna rate this video out of 10 considering it's just a thank you video, but I will say that it's a damn good one. Episode 4 is Security Compromise, and it's the longest video of this first season. It's also the one that starts to really carve out a story. These aren't just random events thrown together to make Ennard look scary, there's a reason for everything we've seen so far. This is also where names start to become important to the series, so after I go through this episode, I'll list out what I believe the timeline is so far. Keep in mind, I haven't seen the next 2 chapters yet, so this will be from the perspective of someone who's only using the FNaF series lore and the lore of these videos. Regardless, let's begin the analysis. The video starts with typing on the screen. Given the typing is green text on a black background, it would appear to be coding of some kind. However, it's illegible, so we'll continue. We fade in on a man's face. I'll be cool with you and just tell you this guy's name and who he is right now. This is Clark Williams, and he was one of the techs in episode 3. Specifically, he was the one who told the female tech not to screw up. We hear a phone ringing. Clark is calling someone, and when he's not able to get through, he leaves a message. Apparently there was an accident in the elevator shaft, and a man named Tim has been injured. We then cut to Ennard crawling over a body with what sounds like chewing? Is Ennard actually eating that corpse? We cut back to Clark's face, and he tries to call again, but once again he gets voicemail. This time, Clark's message is more frantic, and he gives us the name of who he's been calling, Toby. Clark is distraught and says that Toby needs to get there right away. It's serious. The last thing he says is, "Don't let us down," and then the phone hangs up. We hear Clark call one more time, voicemail picks up again, but after the beep, Clark says 2 words. We cut to black and see messages start appearing in the bottom left corner of the screen. Was it worth it? Was this your plan? What was your reason? Who knows? But either way, once I find you, I will kill you. Afton. Now I have my theory as to who is saying this, but it's very directly targeted towards William Afton. Moving on, we're brought to footage of a car driving through the woods, apparently towards the facility of the accident Clark described. This character is Toby Kirkland, and we find out that the reason he never picked up the phone was because it's 2 in the morning. But he's on his way there now, apparently to perform a preliminary investigation before police arrive. Toby questions what really happened, having been told that Tim was mauled by a fan blade in the elevator. He apparently doesn't like the use of the word mauled, but based on what we saw earlier with Ennard, it's accurate. Toby also says he's sick of Afton's attitude and how he suspects something fishy is going on. He really wishes he picked a different career. We then cut to black and another face fades in. Ladies and gents, this here is our William Afton. William describes how because of how ambitious he was with his experiments, he's been put under investigation by the police. However, he also reiterates that everything that has happened so far has been according to his plans from the very beginning, including the death of Tim Holliday, and that the main reason he's doing this is for the fun of it and to make Henry suffer. Henry, who by the way, in canon is the co-founder of Freddy, William's business partner. He then goes on to describe Ennard as a beautiful, ugly, horrific freak of nature, and praises it for remaining hidden despite the chaos it has caused. He closes out this evil monologue by saying that anyone who hears this recording should start running. We cut back to Ennard bent over Tim's corpse, before vanishing between flashes of camera static. Just before the camera switches, in red text in the bottom right it reads, "Don't leave." Who this is referring to, and who it's being said to, continues to be a mystery to me. Maybe I'll come up with an answer by the end of this. We then cut back to Toby driving, having apparently visited the facility, but more importantly, having seen Ennard. He's panicking, rambling, and just before the camera bugs out, we see a picture of Afton in the top left of the screen. Cut to black, we can hear sirens in the distance, and we see images of a mangled wreck. It seems that in trying to make his escape from Ennard, Toby crashed his car, either because of Ennard, Afton, or simply panicking too much to drive effectively through these narrow trees. We cut to the camera by Tim's body once more, with Ennard now looking into the camera, moving almost as though he were breathing. The camera freezes on a still of his face, and another. We're brought back to the login screen. The password is typed in. We come to the incident log, but there's nothing left. Purple text reads out. Look at that. Gone without a trace. Don't worry, you can have it back. Once I'm done with you, Henry. The video glitches out, cut to black, end of the tape. Wow. First off, I'm just gonna say it, 9 out of 10. Alright, so that tape gave us a lot of info, with the only thing we're really missing now being some explanation on what this Ennard really is. But here's how I think the story's going so far. William Afton created Ennard as an experiment, but also to ultimately act as a monster with which he would seek revenge on his business partner, Henry. This would either be done by killing Henry with Ennard outright, or more likely, killing those associated with him in order to make Henry potentially look bad. However, Ennard, still within Circus Baby's party rentals, begins causing problems for staff there and turns the place into a sort of hunting grounds. This ultimately culminates in a night wherein Ennard kills a worker named Tim Holliday, with another worker, Clark, blaming it on the broken elevator. Toby Kirkland is called to the scene, however he spots Ennard. Ennard chases Toby and causes him to crash, killing Toby and thereby any witnesses to the truth. William Afton is detained after having 2 deaths take place on his own property, but he considers this a minor setback. And Henry, for whatever reason or another, is finding out the truth through stored incident logs, which Afton is then deleting to make sure they can't be used as evidence against him. Overall, I love this story so far, especially with how it's using Ennard. But it's not over yet. There's one more episode in this first season, so we'll watch that. But first, that text earlier, "I will kill you, Afton," I think that is actually being said by Henry here, which is odd because Henry is the one watching the incident logs, but that's the only way I can make that line specifically make sense, and I still can't really reason what the red text means. BI58 bunch of characters begins with that login page once more, with the text now broken and the screen much darker than before. And what do you know? Good thing I had my subtitles on, because in the brief moment a password shows up on the screen, so does a link. Following this link brings us to a Google Drive with an audio file attached. The audio is Morse code, which when translated comes out to Season 2 in 2022. Ooh, I can't wait. We continue on to the incident log, and oh my god, Morse code. That's great. Starting to get FNaF Plus flashbacks here. The message this time spells out, "Don't do it." The last incident recorded is BI58 bunch of characters, which I presume Henry presses because we then cut to black. We then get another piece of Morse which reads out, "I warned you." Damn Henry, if only you knew Morse code. We're brought to an image of Ennard, complete with analog horror eyes. Given this was 2021 though, I'll let it slide. For now. Cut to Ennard freaking out in a little jump scare montage, and we're brought to a screen that says extracting security logs. That has to be a good thing, right? We see a backdoor override code used, and then the file names for the anomaly showing us a bunch of very thumbnail potential pictures of Ennard. We're asked if we want to extract the source code, and then the screen cuts to black after an option is selected. I'd say which it was, but since we don't actually know for sure yet, we'll just say that an option was selected. Suddenly, a new screen pops up showing us different computer components for access. The source is selected, and we're given 3 lines of text: power active, drive active, and kill switch 0. We see the 0 turn into a 1, and the subtitles also give us the word free. It seems whatever just happened, something somewhere was set free. We come back to Ennard's face, this time without the analog horror eyes. See, it got better. The mouth opens, and we see that he begins to speak. Where am I? Where is my body? It isn't bad. Somehow I feel free. I'm okay with this. Okay, for real, that might be the funniest thing I've ever read in a mascot horror anything. Please forgive me. Ennard's face fades out and we're brought to a stark white image with the text tape number 5 appearing before us. And these are the credits? Really? This is a 5-minute video and for real the credits take up half of it. Not saying there shouldn't be credits, but that ending was kinda sudden, don't you think? But it seems like this episode did give us a lot to chew on. If I had to guess, it was Afton warning Henry against messing with the code. But when Henry activated the kill switch, it's as though something changed inside Ennard. I don't know if the spirit inside him was free, or if it was free from Afton's programming, or anything like that. But in that moment, Ennard stopped being the monster we knew him as in the previous videos. He was pacified. But then that leaves me with more questions. I think it's clear by now that the Ennard in these tapes is not meant to be the same Ennard we see in Sister Location. This version not only seems more primal and aggressive, but it also seems to have been pacified and set free. It also refers to itself as one entity, not like the Ennard hive mind we know from SL. Perhaps this will be answered in seasons 2 and 3. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into a series I wish I discovered a long time ago. Seriously, I haven't found a series this underrated since Spectre's videos, and for that reason, I think I ended up really enjoying talking about it. So please, share this video around and I'll get working on a part 2. Otherwise, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm DMuted. Peace.